because it's like 6 months, right? That's passed. You know, like we are getting a lot of the, okay, you know what, now it's like 6 months have passed, but I'm not making that much progress yet, so on and so forth. And if you guys are feeling like this today, or you feel like, okay, maybe you've made progress, but feel like it's still far off, then this session is totally for you guys, right? Okay, and so um my hope, or like my objective, having these sessions is really allowing you guys to expand your perspective, whether it's from a business standpoint, like the systems, everything else, the breakdown, or even about just basically, how you want to have certain shifts in your beliefs, or even quote unquote, like they call it mindset, right? So that's gonna be the idea. Okay, so without further ado, let me open my iPad and we'll dive right in, right? So for you guys, wondering what is it all about today? Let me give a preface on today's session, right? And so in the last 7 years, more than 7 years actually, I've been like obviously coaching a lot of advisors. I've been going through my own journey of like, building a business, so on and so forth. And one of the key things is I realized is that like one of the biggest problems that always happens, regardless of which stage of the business that you're at, whether you're earning 5K a month, $500 a month, or even like 50,000 a month, right? One of the biggest um problem that always comes up, right, is the very fact that you will at times feel like shit. You know what I mean? Like at times you feel like shit. And what I mean by that is like, okay, maybe it's like, okay, you know what, you earn 10K this month, and then next month you're like, okay, where's my next um, you know, basically appointment's gonna come from, so on and so forth. Or sometimes, right, it's like every month you can earn 10K, but then you think about the number of appointments you have to go for, or the number of things that you proposals you have to do, and then you feel a little bit jaded, right? You feel like same shit all over again, and either way, like it all leads to basically having a business not being that sustainable, right? And this is right really regardless of like how much money you earn. Makes sense. And so this is really a big problem that I've seen so far. And so one of the things that I want to do is to share with you at least what I've been through and what I've observed in basically advisors that are really like, when I say at the top, means say like they earn a bit more money, 15, 20, 30K a month, or even like directors as well, right? And so I'm going to share with you like the insights for that and what you guys can do for yourself. And I hope this will be useful for you. Okay. And so now I'm going to share my screen and then we'll dive straight into the lesson. Okay, cool. So anyway, very good morning to those who just came in. Very good to see you guys as well. And yeah, Elton, looking good by the way. Right, then Sheng Wei, you're driving, right? So yeah, just listen, okay? Okay, even if I'm drawing, so just saying, if you guys are like honestly, traveling or whatever, like driving, please do not look at the screen, okay? Even though I'm going to draw stuff there. Okay, so let's talk about 2, 3. Okay, cool. Let's go. Okay, here we are. Get ready and let's get things going. Okay, so now, let's see. So one of the things I'm gonna talk about, right, is what I call basically the success formula, right? It's called the success formula. I won't talk about the entire success formula. I'll talk about one part of it, which is by far one of the things that most people don't talk about, right? And basically, this formula is very simple. And so, if you think about it, right, like if let's say we define success, as something just for context, or just for like this illustration, let's say we talk about success as like, money, right? Or basically results, okay? Or like hitting your goals or whatever it is. And now, riches or money or like results could be maybe you just want a better health, right? Or whatever it is, it need not be money, but let's just say it's about money, right? And so with success, a formula here is very simple. The formula is just basically there are 3 variables, right? The first variable, in short, is just quantity, meaning to say, like how much you do, right? Like what's the volume of activities that you do, so on and so forth. It's just like basically volume times quality. And so quality is basically like, in terms of like how great your skill sets are, for example, right? And so let's just put things into perspective. And so if let's say, hypothetically speaking, let's say one of the methods is like you're doing cold calls, or even like roadshows, for example, right? And so like what will get you more appointments and therefore more sales eventually is basically just doing more volume, right? Which is quantity, and then times quality. And so this is also, let me just also explain. This is also where a lot of conflict or friction happens between advisors and managers. And why I say that, right, is because if you go, if then this is something like, this is just my insights on talking to so many people, right, 2,000 plus at this point in time, is that a lot of times when you tell your manager, hey, like, I have this problem, basically you're not getting results, right? And then after that, their solution is what? Their solution is basically, dude, just do more, right? Like, do more, talk to more people, meet more people, right? And so, like, if you think about it, they are not wrong, because it is one part of the entire success formula. Now, the problem, right, that we are receiving a lot, right, is that even their managers tell them to say do more. It seems like a very no-brainer. Like, duh, of course, just do more, right? But the challenge is you're still not getting results because of the second variable, because you're lacking the quality of the doing, right? And so if, let's say, hypothetically speaking, your cold call, you call 100, you are only able to set one appointment, which is 1% conversion rate. Even if you do 1,000, like, you're only going to get 10, right? And you haven't even talked about people showing up, so on and so forth, right? And so then at this point in time, you might not want to only do more. You also want to do better. Make sense? Right? And so if I put a caveat here, another way to look at it, right, it's another way to explain this is like, okay, the success formula is you want to do more, and then you want to do better. That makes sense? Right? You want to do more, and then you want to do better. And then you want to ask yourself, like, okay, where's the challenge, right? Like, okay, are you doing enough? If you feel like, okay, you know what, Ben, I'm actually working 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day. I'm working, like, prospecting like 6 hours a day, for example. I'm making 500 calls in a day. And then maybe at this point in time, it's like, okay, maybe you are really doing enough, right? You're really doing more. The problem is that you're not doing it better. And therefore, from this standpoint, then what you want to do, obviously, is to dive into doing better. Make sense? Right? And so this is really like just the two parts of basically a success formula. Now, I'm just running through this because I just need to give context on, like, basically how to get results, generally speaking, and also the reasons why some of us don't get results despite doing more and everything else, right? Now, this explains the first thing, which is like, okay, if you guys are already doing more, like doing enough volume, then what it means is that you probably want to, and you're still not getting results that you desire, then maybe you got to do better. Make sense? Okay, this one very clear. Huh? Now, this is why I'll talk about the third formula, the third part, third variable basically, which is why some people do volume, meaning say they do a lot, they work 14, 16 hours a day. They also, their skill sets are pretty good as well, right? Like, maybe they have done this a lot of times, they are seasoned, they kind of know how to open, know how to close, like, just really know how to get appointments and meet people. But somehow, some way, they are still not getting results. They are still not getting the results. Now, this is where a lot of people are perplexed. Like, they're just confused, because to them it's like, okay, I do a lot and I'm improving on myself, my quality of my skill sets, the way I think, blah, 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 right? But why am I still not getting results, even though my closing, I feel is better, even though I ask better questions, even though I do a lot of things, right? And the real reason, and this is something like people just don't talk about because it's so, either they don't know or like they just don't know how to explain it in a way that I'm going to explain about, right? Which is the third variable. So you think, this is variable number 1, variable number 2, third variable, which explains for a lot of things, is essentially your mental attitude, right? Your mental attitude, right? This is by far the biggest thing. And I can tell you that if you do number 1 well, you do number 2 well, but if number 3 is not in the right state, like it's not positive, then what is going to happen, right? That you're not going to get results as well, right? And so if I were to break down basically, what mental attitude is, rather than just living it as a woo-woo kind of thing, right? I think the challenge with like mindset stuff, a lot of people have, right, is that like when you say attitude, like they don't really know what attitude really means, right? And I'm going to break that down. And so mental attitude is just in essence, okay, a way of thinking. It's just thought. It's just how you think. It's just a way of thinking, right? And so you can call it like beliefs as well, right? Or whatever you call it, but it's just a way of thinking, right? And so what happens, right, is that obviously when the way that we can think can end up in two ways, right? Either it's positive or negative, right? It's either one of these two things. And so what tends to happen, right, is that sometimes if you do a lot, let's say you do your cold calls just purely because cold calls is easier to talk about it. Let's say you call a lot of people, you do it better, but then your mental attitude is like, fuck lah, I need to call these people, like business is a dread, I damn sian, but I have no choice, right? Let's say your way of thinking when you're doing cold calls is like, wow, I have no choice. I'm in this industry because like if I don't do this, then I need to get a corporate job, sian, right? If you are thinking that way and you feel like you have no choice, then what's going to happen, right, is that even if you do, let's say, 500 cold calls, I'm like doing math here. This is just math, right? You do 500 cold calls, and even let's say your conversion is like, I don't know, at 10% or whatever it is, right? By default, you're supposed to get maybe, I don't know, what's the numbers for this? 50 like appointments, right? But here's the problem, okay? The problem, right, is that if your mental attitude is negative 1, what do you think? What do you think the results are going to be? Right? Because if 500 times 10%, right, which is like 50, then times -1, what are you going to get? You're going to get negative results, right, which is -50. Now, at this point in time, you might be thinking, okay, Ben, like, how does it work, right? Because, like, if I do 10% of 500, I'm supposed to get 50. Like, how having a negative attitude, like, would affect my conversion rates because numbers can't lie. And so, what tend to happen is that even if you set those 50 appointments, either they don't show up, which is another thing, or even when you meet them, you can't close. That makes sense? And this is like how mental attitude, like, affects the process, right? And so, if another way of really to get this explain this a little bit differently, right, is that your number 1 and number 2, right, your first 2 variables are really a lot to do with quote unquote your processes, right? Your inputs, outputs, your systems, whatever it is, right? This is what you say, this is what you call, and this is how you say things, or this is how you close, right? Number 3 is, in short, the intangible side of things, right? The metaphysical, the subconscious, whatever you want to call it. That makes sense, right? And so, like, the first 2 are the processes and systems, and then the third one is mental attitude, right? Which is more intangible in nature, like what you think, how you see things, and how you see the world. Now, the reason why I even talk about this, right, even though like we are mainly focused on 1 and 2, but actually we also talk a lot about number 3, right? Because we also start to realize, like in the last few years, right, that even though if we give someone the instructions on what to do that has proven to work before, and they even if they followed through exactly, they're still not getting results. A lot of times, right, it goes back to literally mental attitude. So either, I give you an example. Sometimes people could do things, right, and then they're like, yeah, well, this is something new. Let me try law. You know, the attitude is, let me try law and see how it goes. See whether it can work or not. Now, so they'll do the things, but because their mental attitude is like, let's see how law, see how it works, right? What do you think? What kind of results do you think they'll get? You'll probably get like see how results, right? It's going to be on and off. And so this is by far like one of the biggest things that like I have to talk about, right? And this literally this is coming from someone and a business that focuses a lot on the processes, the systems, and everything else. Like we have to talk about number 3, which is really the key factor. Makes sense, right? And so that's really what mental attitude is all about. And as you can see from the equation, even if I change like negative 0.1, as long as a negative in front, right, you're screwed. Makes sense, right? And so the way I look at it is that like your more and better, your processes and systems will get you a large part of the results, but your mental attitude will determine how amplified the results will be. That makes sense? Like how amplified the results will be, right? And so if you think about like some people, they don't even like this could be something that you guys have experienced before, right? Let's say some people that right, they're not the best. I mean, like their skills are not the best. They don't do as much planning as you, and they don't do as much work as you also. But basket somehow, somewhere, they keep getting results. Make sense? They keep kind of like, hey, keep getting top. And he's starting himself, basket, why? Right? You are more hardworking, you are better. But then basket, why are they getting results? And you're not. Aha. Mental attitude. That makes sense, right? And so, like, if you are already, and so I hope this basically just even on this success formula would already be able to help you diagnose kind of like how you can improve, right? Because, so think about it. If scenario A, you're someone that obviously, let's say you have not done enough, then obviously you just focus on variable number 1, right? Just do more. Let's say you're already doing a lot, then you're still not getting results, then obviously do better. Now, if you're still doing more and still doing better and you're still not getting the results that you love, then it's your mental attitude. That makes sense, right? And so like channeling the right amount of resources to the right constraint or the right problem in the business in this entire process will give you quote unquote like breakthroughs, right? And so when we talk about like quote unquote breakthroughs in the industry or whatever it is, first of all, not a lot of people know what the hell breakthrough is. That makes sense? Hang on, I put wrongly. Yeah, first of all, right, not a lot of people know what breakthroughs really is, right? But basically, breakthrough is just resolving bottlenecks, right? And so sometimes we do have advisors that comes in. Obviously, we teach a lot of, like I mentioned, a lot of processes, systems, everything else. But during our calls, right, one of the things that after I kind of like ask a few questions, I realized that the problem, even though can be improved on processes and skills, all these things can be improved, right? What to say, the script, everything else. I realized that wasn't the biggest problem. And so sometimes on calls, right, just it's nothing to do with skill sets. It was just about like how they see the world and then kind of like coaching them a little bit on that. Literally, they get results, right? And it's nothing to do with the script. It was just like a certain way of like how they see things, right? And so this is really how powerful it is, when you want to look at mental attitude. Okay. And that's why we're going to break down, like in short, how to develop a positive mental attitude. Okay. And that's what we're going to do, after like this is success formula, I'm going to talk about like this part, right? And so the question now becomes, right? Okay, positive, let me write this down. Positive mental attitude, right? Now that we kind of understand, okay, mental attitude is a way of thinking, and then positive mental attitude, which is called like PMA, in short, let's just call it PMA. It's basically obvious, like a positive way of like thinking, right? But here's where the problem comes about, because every time we think about the word called positive, like positive mental attitude, the challenge here is that like people overuse it, or they use it in a way that it just loses its meaning. And so a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Ben, you're going to talk about positivity. It's just basically being optimistic, right? Now, that's not like how we look at it, right? Because the truth is, it's very hard to be optimistic or to be quote unquote that positive, woo positive, right? When you're in a sales rut or like when things aren't going well. Make sense? Right? And that's why you get a lot of frustration when you're having problems, like big problems. And then you have friends coming and tell you, say that, hey, bro, just be positive, man. Sure can one. And then in your mind, you're like you kind of understand, but yeah, at the same time, you're like, fuck you, right? Like you don't understand like the shit I'm going through. And then you're like, it's just hard to be quote unquote positive, right? And so the way I look at or define like positive mental attitude or like positivity in general, it's not so much about the woo-woo one that we talk about, but I think it's really a lot to do with being practical, that all problems that we face can be resolved. And once resolved, will make us or will give us progress towards our goals. And so that's what or how I look at or define like positive, having a positive mental attitude, right? Remember, mental attitude is a way of thinking, right? It's a way of saying things. And so what we are really doing is that when you say positive mental attitude, right, it's like this red color part here is basically how we want to think, right? And so PMA basically means a thinking where we are practical, that all problems that we are facing right now can be resolved. And once resolved, will make us progress towards our goals. So I repeat, when we say we want to build a positive mental attitude, what we are really saying is that we want to create a way, we want to believe that and be practical that all problems that we are facing can be resolved. And once resolved, will allow us to make progress towards our goals. That's about it, right? And so why do I want to talk about or define or put in the word called problems? Because it's very simple, right? Every day, we are all faced with problems, right? We are all faced with problems. And when we face it, so think about it, right? It's like, let's say this is you here, okay? And then there's this, I don't know, some big mountain. Okay, this doesn't look like a mountain, but you guys get what I mean. Okay, it's a big mountain, right? It's a big mountain here. Okay, just assume this mountain. Okay, just in case for those who want to watch the recording, let me just say it's mountain. Okay, so now let's say this is you, right? And then there's a mountain over here, and then your goal is here, right? And let's say this is your goal. Your goal is here. Okay, so every day, every time you have a goal, this means that you have problems. And every time you have problems are just like mountains, right? And so the thing here is this: when you are here and then you look at the mountain, there could only be two ways of thinking. Like there's only two ways. First way, and if you are doing and this is what we call a negative mental attitude, you are like, wow, the mountain very big. I don't think I can climb. Even if I climb already, I don't think I can make it. What's the point of climbing this? Maybe I should change my goal. maybe actually, why am I even like going for this goal? Actually so hard. Let me just forget about it, lah. Right? Or sometimes, which more often than not, right, is the case, which is let me try, lor. Let me try to climb the fucking mountain, lor. Right? That's what most of you have. And when you think that way, then it's basically what we call like you basically have a negative, it's called MN and MA, lah, like negative mental attitude. The other way that we just talked about is a positive mental attitude. So you want to look at the mountain, which is the problem that you're facing right now. And these problems could be different for everybody, right? Maybe right now you're like, Ben, I want to hit my MDRT, but then right now only like 10%, right? It seems so far away, right? And then I don't have enough time, yada, yada, right? Now that's a problem, correct? And so you want to look at the problem and you want to start thinking like, okay, cool. The good news, like this is a problem, but the good news is that once I solve this problem, it's going to lead me closer to the goal, right? And if you break down the problem of like, okay, I have a shortfall, then you want to break down, okay, cool, what's the methods or what do I need to do to get there, right? And you go back to success formula is the same thing. It's just like do more and do better, right? And so it's like, okay, you need to get appointments, right? Okay, cool. So how can you get appointments, right? And then maybe your next problem becomes like, okay, but Ben, I don't have enough appointments. It's a good problem, right? It's a good problem because now you're start thinking, okay, I don't have enough appointments. How do I get there? Then you start solving the problems. Make sense? You need to, and remember, you're going back to definition, is that a positive mental attitude is not about woo-woo or optimistic shit. It's about like being practical that all problems that we face can be resolved. Like you all need to believe, and this is like a little bit harder, right? But like if I can even just translate this or convey this, then this would like make a lot of sense, right? Which is like you need to believe that all problems that we face can be resolved. It can be resolved, right? Because whatever that you are going through right now, many hundreds and thousands of people have walked through that path before and they've solved it, right? So it is possible to be solved, And so that the only thing is like, whether do you want to solve it? Make sense, right? And so you got to believe that all problems can be resolved. All problems can be resolved, okay? And so that's really what positive mental attitude basically is all about, right? Like look at the mountain and you say like, you know what? There's a way about it, right? And this is something, quick story. And so this is something that happened to me like multiple times, right? Whether is it like sales or whether is it like when I was very, very down and had my lows, right? I was always in a rut, right? I just feel like I couldn't pick myself up, so on and so forth. And then after I just remember all this formula, and I just told myself, you know what? I just firmly declare. I just said like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, let's just do something about it, right? Like, I know we have this problem. I know we can solve it. I do not know how to solve it, but I just know that we can. Like that's my way of my own PMA. That makes sense? Like that's how I talk to myself, which is like, I know this can be done. I know we can do it. Even though I don't know how, I just know we can do it. Like I even told to the team, right? Like Terrence, I was like, you know what? Like fuck, like actually honestly, like I don't know how like we're gonna get there, but I just know we're gonna get there for sure, 100%, right? And so with that kind of like PMA and things that I firmly declare out like to myself, and you can ask Terrence, right? Like we're just like fuck it, we don't know, but let's just figure something out, right? Let's just do it first, right? And then like hopefully figure things out. And more often than not, right? Yeah, more often than not, like it happens well, right? And so sometimes it's like whether are you religious or not, so on and so forth, right? It's like a lot of times we just need to focus on like the goal, which is the what are we going for. But sometimes, right, we focus too much on the how. And I'm not saying the how is not important, but I'm saying that sometimes when we focus too much on the how, we don't know how, or when we know how, but we don't want to do because it seems complicated, it stops us in our tracks to accomplish things. That makes sense, right? You think about it, you want to solve something, either number one, you're like, you know what, I don't know how, right? And then you're like, oh, you're going to give up. Or number two, you're like, wow, actually, I know how to do it, but it will take us very long. It will be very tedious. I need to grind a lot of hours. I need to sacrifice, blah, blah, blah. And then it overwhelms you and then you don't want to do it. Makes sense, right? And so sometimes we think too much, overthink about the how, when in fact we just need to think about the goal and firmly declare with a PMA and saying, and if you guys want to take whatever I'm saying right now, like it could be helpful. I don't know, but at least it's helpful and useful for me, right? Which is like, I know we can do it. I know other people have done MDRT. I know other people have done 20K a month, enjoy the process and be happy. I know they have done it. I don't know exactly how to do it, but I just know it will be done. Right? And then I'll just figure something out. Right? Just me saying it out gives me that kind of like, I don't know if you call it confidence or evidence that's like, you know what? Oh, no, it gives me the confidence to produce the evidence that we can do it. Right? So I repeat, right? Declaring or having a PMA gives you the confidence to build the evidence that you can do it. Right? And so maybe I should write this down, right? Yeah. So having PMA gives you the confidence to build the evidence that you can do it. Make sense? Right? And so like, you have no idea. And so this is why like, I'm not going too much into skill sets and kind of shit for today, purely because like a lot of you, sometimes you guys already know what you need to do. Like some of you guys are pretty seasoned, right? You already know what you need to do. It's just that sometimes you just don't feel like doing it. You feel like it's a rut. You feel like it's too far, and because you're thinking too much of the how. Make sense, right? And so when in fact what you really need to do is just focus on the doing, right, with the PMA, and then things will figure out for itself, right? And so this is something I've seen like in a lot of top producers as well. People who do route COT. I have like one of good friends of mine who's like do COT every year, and it's like a lot of times they actually don't know what the fuck they are doing. To be honest, they actually don't know what the fuck are they doing, right? It's just they just have this PMA of like, you know what, I'll just decide I'm going to do it, I'm going to get it. Like things will figure out for itself, right? Don't know how, but we'll get it. And just saying that like just gives that information. Make sense? Right? And so at least this is something that we found very, very useful and something that I've observed with a lot of advisors as well on this path. Okay, so now the next question that you guys might wonder, okay, so Ben, I kind of like get it and everything else, right? But I just want to talk about like the very fact that why this matters so much, right? Why PMA matters so much. And it's just very simple, right? If PMA, or like if you look at PMA, which is like a positive way or a practical way of like thinking, right? In short, then this means that, and we all know this, right? And if you don't know, then this will be a good one for you, right? Which is like how we think or how we think, right? Translate into certain things called beliefs, and our beliefs will determine our behaviors. Make sense? Our beliefs will dictate our behaviors, and our behaviors will translate into actions. Right? And so sometimes this part people will call it like, so basically this is the science way, right? Which is like you think thoughts becomes like beliefs become behaviors become actions, right? And if you want to shortcut this, then some people will say think into, or basically the last part is results, right? And actions will give you the results, right? And so some people, if you read like myself, right, like in the past, if you read like The Secret, all the woo-woo stuff, right? Then it's basically like your thinking will help you lead to the result, and they'll call it, and this is called manifestation. Manifestation. Make sense? That is called manifestation, right? And so a lot of times, I think the challenge is that when people say, hey, you should manifest what you want, right? Everything else, they're basically just skipping so many steps. And it's hard to kind of like be practical about it, right? And so if you are someone that is more practical like myself, I think I'm a good mix of both. But sometimes I need the practical side of things, right? Because when someone says like, hey, Clara, you should just manifest the things that you want, and you're like, okay, but then you're like, how is it gonna happen? And everything else, right? Well, the word below beliefs, behaviors. Behaviors. Yeah. So how you think will lead to formation of beliefs, and beliefs leads to behavior. Leads to behaviors. And then your behavior will dictate your actions, and then your actions will lead you to results, right? Whether it's positive or negative. Now, of course, guys, if I change the P to negative, then of course the results will be negative, right? Just the, you know what I mean? And so everything all stems from there. Make sense? And so, point is, at the end of the day, how we think internally will dictate basically the results that we're going to get. Okay, so that's why it matters a lot, right? And that's why I just want to share this, because like, it's just very painful, because I do have advisors, and I do know of people who work very hard and they sacrifice a lot. Like they really sacrifice a lot, their families and everything else, just to earn a living, just to provide better for everybody else, right? And it's just very sad, and it's a pity to see someone like working so hard, and yet they're not getting to where they want to be, right? And so my objective is that if you guys can just really consider having a positive mental attitude for yourself, and as we define like what PMA is all about, right? It's just basically solving the problems, and that we know that once solved will let us progress, right? We just know all problems can be solved. Just need to believe that, right? If you think about it, then you guys will like, honestly, whether it's 6 months left to the end of the year, 5 months or whatever it is, right? Like you're gonna win. That makes sense, right? So that's kind of like the big idea. Okay. So Munchen was saying like not all managers or directors understand you quantify or justify. Yeah. And so like even just on this topic, just sidetrack, like they want you to justify quantity and everything else because they look at number one and number two, because these are things that are tangible that can be seen, right? And maybe for them, it's just harder for them to talk about like the mental attitude part of things, and sometimes that's why I say like, and okay, this is what I truly believe, right? Which is like, there is never one secret to getting results or getting success. People on the outside in this industry or whatever it is always try to sell that one thing, right? Oh, if you can just have this method, you will get there. If you just focus on your mindset, you will get there, right? But like the truth here is that there are also the extreme end, right, of people who are like focus on mindset and beliefs and everything else, but then they lack the quality and quantity, which is they don't have the processes and the skill sets, right? What do you think is going to happen? They're not going to get the results. Make sense, right? And so like, and this is me personally knowing this because like, we have people who learn about coaching and about mindset and stuff like that, and then they came over because they're still not getting results, right? And it's not because their mental attitude was bad. It's just that like all the coaching was bad. It was just that they still got missing the other two variables. Make sense, right? And so you got to solve all three things, and that's why like hopefully this formula allows you to really just digest that. Okay, if you follow what we taught you, you'll get the results. Almost every major statement. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt the system. I mean, I don't doubt that the system like isn't working. It's probably just maybe from what we've realized is that you just don't know exactly how to articulate or teach in a way where it really works, right? And I think that sometimes even we follow, like, it's easier to teach number one and two. It's easier to teach someone a process like Elton, just use this script, reach out to these people, use this referral thing, right? It's easier to teach that than teach mental attitude. Make sense? It's easier to teach that, right? And so what tends to happen is that as a leader, is like they will teach they teach number one and two, and then like number three, they just don't really talk too much about it, right? Because to them, it's like, hey, just do it lah. What's so bad about it? What's so difficult, right? And every time you don't get results, it goes back to number one and two, right? But number three is really one of the key things that I've seen so far. Okay, so now that's it. I'm going to share like 5 pointers that I've written down and I've to help develop PME, or rather develop better understanding, application as well on how to really use PME for good. Okay, and so point number one, it's all problems are good. Okay, all problems are good. So let me explain that before you go crazy on like why are problems good. Okay, so now, and this is something that I learned a lot from like Think and Grow Rich, and I've been I maybe consider being like classify myself like a student of like Napoleon Hill's work, right? Think and Grow Rich, Positive Mental Attitude, Law of Success, whatever, right? And so all problems are good because every problem equals to, or every problem, every adversity that you're going through right now, always have 100%, always have a benefit. You just need to write this down in the most simplest way. Every problem that you're facing will have an equivalent benefit. I repeat, every problem that we are having right now will always have an equivalent benefit if, this is the if you have PME. Yeah, Elton, correct. So I repeat again, right? Every problem that you have right now will have a benefit or equal or more benefit if you have a positive mental attitude. If you have a negative mental attitude, to a lot of people, problems are just bad. So you think back to your colleagues, you think back even to your leaders or like people in the industry that you know, or maybe just family members, whatever, right? It's like, or maybe especially a lot of do with corporate people, based on conversation I had, which is like they always think that there are problems and then they always complain about the problems. That makes sense? Like to them, right, it's like problems is bad. Like problems is just bad. They're like sian, they're stressed and everything else, right? Problems are bad to them. Why? It's only bad to them because they have a negative mental attitude. They have a negative mental attitude. But what they don't realize is that when they solve the problem, they will always get a benefit. That makes sense, right? And so first belief or first thing that will really helpful is always understanding all problems are good. Because if you don't have problems today in your life, you will not make progress and you will not get your goals. Right? You will not make progress and you will not get your goals. Because the truth is that you cannot avoid problems. Like problems are there to be solved. Right? And you understand that once solved, it creates basically value for others and move yourself one step towards your goals. Make sense? Right? And so if you are right now, by any chance, in a situation where you feel like, why are all these problems happening to you? And you're whining and you're victimizing about it, so on and so forth. Like, first of all, I think you can be sad about it, to be honest. But I don't think like you victimizing yourself and questioning why are problems happening to you is serving you in any way. Right? Like, it's not going to serve you in any way. You know? Like, you can be sad about it. You can be upset about certain things. But like, if you're gonna be a victim about it, and you're gonna be like whine and bitch about it, like, it's not gonna help you. That makes sense, right? And so the way I look at it now is that all problems are good, right? And to be honest, if like these beliefs will serve, at least it helped me or it served me a lot better, because every day I have problems, right? And I just need to understand that if all problems are good, this means every day is a good day. Because every day I get to solve problems that allows me to move one step further. And cool, that's good, right? You know? And if you think about like, yeah, I mean, just saying like all problems are good. That's the first thing. You must really understand all problems are good. Like, if you don't believe me, it's fine, because you just need to look back at your own life. You think about the money that you have earned. You think about like the wife, the kids, and everything else that you have, the material possessions in which you're enjoying and is part of your life, right? If you think about that, to some degree or to all degrees, right? Like, you probably solve a problem before you can earn the money. Make sense? Right? And so like, if you want your clients to give you money, you probably need to solve a problem. Make sense? Like, you have to solve a problem. You know? So like, why are problems bad? Problems are good. If you think about sales, right? Like, you just draw parallel to things, right? If you think about sales, sales is like what? You have a prospect who has a future goal, and then this is their current situation, correct? And then the in between, there's a gap, correct? And then the gap is also known as the problem. And here's the good part, right? We all know if in sales, we need to identify the problem, right? Then press on the pain. Then once we solve it, it goes to what? Cha-ching, right? Like, just bluntly speaking, it becomes money. And so why are problems bad? Problems are good. And so for every single one, like whoever, if you are like watching this video or recording or whatever it is, like, understand that whatever problems that you're having right now is good. Right? Now, facing the problem might not feel good. And there's a difference, right? Like, it might not feel good to have problems, but all problems are good. I think it's worth thinking now. I will even write it myself, right? It's like, all problems are good, but just because it's good doesn't mean that you feel good. That makes sense? Feel good. And it's okay. Right? It's okay. You know, like, I have a lot of problems, and I'm like, shit, man, I feel shitty like half the time, you know, when things happen, right? But sometimes I sleep a little bit longer and I feel good, and then like I feel like I can solve the problems, right? You know, but the thing here is that like, you need not feel good about the problems. You just need to understand problems are good. You can't, right? And so hopefully this will be a good help, right? So that's point number one. Okay, I'm gonna run through. Okay, we have like 18 minutes left. Okay, so that's number one. Now, all problems are good. Now, number two, it's you want to be obsessed with helping. Okay, obsessed with helping. And I'll break this down, right? In terms of like, how do you want to apply like PME and everything else, right? And so basically, when it comes to obsessed with helping, right, we all know that like, in order for us to reach our own goals, we need to help other people, right? That's for sure, because life moves in angles, right? And so there are two ways, and I'll break it down, right, for two ways for you guys to hopefully, at least it's something I think through myself, and hopefully it'll be helpful, which is, it goes back down to two questions. The first question, right, is just asking ourselves, number one, oh shit, I don't know why, like, it's gone, but yeah, here we are, right? So let me just go back here. Yeah, and so like, you want to just go back to like the first question, right? First question that we just want to ask ourselves when we want to obsess with helping, right? Is like, just asking ourselves a very simple question: how can I basically help? How can I help this person? Help this person. That's about it. What can I do? What can I help? Right? Another way to put it is like, okay, what problems does this person have, and what can I help to solve? Right? That's number one. Like, that's the first thing that we just need to focus on, right? Only and only if, I repeat, only and only if you can answer this question, then you go down to the second question, which is, okay, now I identify what I can help with this person, what I can help to solve, what problem I can solve basically for this person. Then the second question then I'll ask is, okay, what is in it? What is in it for me? Then that's the second question that you ask. Make sense? Right? And so like, we want to focus on number one first, then we focus on number two. Most of the time, right, is that a lot of times as advisors and what we've noticed is that everybody focus on question two, which is like, what's in it for me? And so if you think back and how it's translate into a different way of being articulated, right, which is like, hey, Elton, where are all your friends? You just call them, everybody, and then ask them whether they want to buy this plan or not. You should get your friends to invest, right? And so like the thing is like, they're just thinking about like, what's in it for me, which is more money, right? So we basically should find people who can sell, right? Do a project 100, do whatever it is. You're just asking what's in it for me, right? And so that's what happens is that when you approach people with the very fact that like, you know what, like I have this solution. Do you want it? I can help you do this, why not? Right? Like I can help you like, sell this thing, help you invest, whatever, right? Like always thinking about what's in it for me. I think the first thing we need to think about is like, what can I help this person with first? Then ask yourself what's in it for me. That makes sense? Like what can I help with this person first, and then what's in it for me, right? And so I give you a very, maybe I even like talk about like this session right now. So like a lot of times it's like I always get a question, okay, Ben, why are you doing these sessions? Like you're not charging anything for free, yada yada, you're taking your time out, blah blah blah, right? And so like to me, right, it's like so let me just break this down, right? Everybody always have a selfless reason, and then there's always a selfish reason. Make sense? Like everybody will behave from a place of selflessness and selfishness. I don't think it's only selfishness. I think there's always a reason why we are doing things that is a place from selflessness, right? And so if you think about like this example right now, like just based on this session and the things I'm going to do or I'm doing right now, it's like I really just want to help you guys. Like, regardless whether you guys join me or whatever, it doesn't matter, right? It's like, I just want to help you guys. Because I just want to help you if I can. Like, whatever I can, just make it free. Could be useful for you guys. Maybe today you got appointments, you feel good about yourself, and then you close one case, go for it, right? And so, like, and it gives me the kind of joy and fulfillment a lot, because I've seen so many advisors struggle and I just want to be of use of help to someone, right? Or to a group of people. And so, like, that's a selfless reason I have, right? And I want, the mission at least for us is really to, um, give advisors like the coachings, right, the systems, and also the right environment. And that's why we're building this community and doing all these things as well, right? And hopefully we'll go international and everything else, like with Vietnamese advisors and so on. That's basically the like, kind of like dream, right? And so that's kind of like the selflessness part of thing. Now, do I also have a selfish reason? 100%, right? My selfish reason is that I hope that based on all these things that I've done and you guys hopefully find it useful, what is going to happen is that maybe you guys will be like, hey, you know what, Ben, this one sounds good. I want to look forward to working with you guys closer. That's good, right? Or even sometimes it's like some of you are already clients, for example. You guys are like, you know what, this is useful. Totally, I should just like refer my friends in, right? And hey, that's good as well, right? And so there's always selfless and selfish reasons, right? I think a lot of times advisors talk too much about the selfless reason, about like quote unquote making impact, so on and so forth, to the extent that they don't talk about the selfish one. And that makes it a little bit unbelievable, right? Because people will be like, bullshit lah, you want to make impact only, man. Like, cannot be, right? Like, that's what most of your prospects are thinking. And so I believe that like everybody have two reasons, like selfless and selfish. And so if you just go back to like these two questions, which is number one, how can you help this person for free first? Like, and that's a selfless thing, right? Like, you just want to help them grow their finances, review their portfolio, totally for free. Whether they buy from you is irrelevant, right? You just want to help them with that. And then once you can do that, then you start thinking of like, okay, cool. Now that I'm doing all these sessions, now that I'm doing a lot of policy reviews, now that I'm giving away my guidebook for free or whatever it is, right? Then the next question then becomes, okay, then how do I kind of like earn some money from it along the way also? Then that's the second question. Make sense? Right? Yeah. And so like if you just reverse the thinking, then this will give you a lot more opportunities, a lot more problems to solve, and you'll never run out of appointments, right? Because everybody has problems. Okay. And so like this is really like the second thing. So basically in short, TLDR, focus on number one, do that first, then focus on number two. Most people get too tied up with number two. What's in it for me? What if I do this for free and I don't get paid? Guys, this is like I won't dive deep into another principle over here, but basically like we will always be compensated for our efforts. We will always be compensated for going the extra mile. Even though it seems free now, we'll always be rewarded, right? And it just goes back to like Isaac Newton, third law of motion, right? I think the law of force, something like that, right? Which is basically like every action or every force has an equal exerted, right? Has an equal and opposite reaction. That's about it, right? And so if you're Christian or whatever, it's like the more you give, the more you get, right? You reap what you sow, so on and so forth, right? You will always have that. Make sense? Right? And so basically obsessed with helping. They're happy with the positive mentality. Okay, so here's number 2. Now, number 3, right? And you guys can take whatever you guys want based on these 5 things, right? Number 3, right, is that you always want to remember that you want to focus on the process more than the outcome, right? You want to focus on the process more than the outcome. And so there's a saying on community, which is like attach to the process and then be detached from the outcome, right? And so the problem is that most people will say like, oh, you know what, Ben, like the way people say like, hey, Clara, you're going to be detached from the outcome. And then it's like, like I also know, but then it's like hard to do, right? And so the way I look at it is like, you want to be attached to the process, right? And so what tends to happen is that when you're trying to focus on the outcome, you're trying to focus on the arriving. Makes sense? You're trying to focus on the arriving, which is like, oh, I just want to get it, right? When you focus on the process, you're focused on the doing, right? You're focused on doing. And the arriving, in my opinion, based on all the things I've observed so far, even for myself, when you're focused on arriving, right, it creates a lot of stress for you, right? Because there's always this gap. Make sense? There's always this gap in between. Like if you see this gap here, there's always a gap in between. You've tried to focus on arriving, you always be stressed, right? But when you focus on the doing, this is where it allows you to enjoy the work. And so a lot of times we have advisors that are like, okay, we got to go in 9 minutes. Okay, so let me just wrap this up. So there's a lot of advisors that does like, they're like 20K a month, the 25K a month, right? And they do it themselves before they join us, right? And so what tends to happen is that like they're always unhappy for the most part, which is funny, right? Because like they're earning good money, they're top this, top that, whatever. And they realize the problem, right, is they always keep focusing basically, right, on the arriving. And when you keep focusing on the arriving, it creates a lot of stress, right? And so one of the things that we do and we talk about, right, is like, okay, let's shift the lens to actually the doing, which allows them to enjoy, right? And so the challenge here is also like, and it's not easy to do, and it needs constant reminder. And it's actually not easy when you have this industry right now with everybody telling you that, hey, what's the outcome, right? COT 了没有 MDRT already or not, so on and so forth, right? And you just get stressed over it, right? And so what I really want to do is just to enjoy. Enjoy means doing the work. Like make the work the goal, right? Rather than on the outcome. Because the more you attach to the outcome, the harder it is for you to get it. The more you attach to the outcome, the harder it is for you to achieve it, right? That's just basically how law works, right? And so there are times where maybe some of you are like, you know what, actually, you think back to those times where you're kind of in the flow, you didn't really think too much about your outcome, and then somehow the sales comes in, right? That kind of feeling. Yeah, right. Because you're not focused on the outcome, you're focused on the process. Yeah, and then the question, if you have been through that, and I'm very sure everybody been through that, then you want to ask yourself, like, okay, how can you replicate that? Right? Because then that's where you can really create this loop of enjoyment, regardless of the outcome. And that's the funny part. And that's how life works, right? Which is more ironic. Because it's like the more you focus on the doing, actually, the more you'll get the MDRT, to get the COT, you know what I mean? Actually, the more you'll get that. Right? And so it's something that, like, I'm just telling you, if right now, like real true stories, right? Like if you're earning 5K and you're thinking to yourself, Ben, once I hit 20K a month in 5 years' time, have recurring, right? I'm going to be happier and do and enjoy the work. You're just like, you need to understand there's no such thing. There is no such thing. I've been through that. A lot of advisors been through that. There's no such thing. There's no like 20K a month then give you the key to unlock to enjoyment or happiness. No such bullshit. You can enjoy your 3K a month as much as you enjoy 30K a month. Like, it's not about the outcome, it's about the doing. Right? And so if you focus on the doing, what's going to happen, right, is that you focus on you're doing more, you focus on being better, and then you get the outcome. That makes sense, right? If you keep focusing on like the outcome, you very hard for you to get it, and you get a lot of stress. And I was just on a call with one of our clients yesterday, and she's obviously a very top producer, and like the stress sometimes will stop people from doing things. Make sense? You stop people from doing things, right? Because you're like, oh my God, you keep focusing on, because yeah, when you're focusing on arriving, right, and then you have this gap here, you focus on the gap rather than focus on the gain. Right? You focus on the gap rather than the gain, And every time you look at a gap, like, you're gonna feel stress. I'm not saying stress is bad, right? I'm just saying, like, if stress helps you to move forward, sure. But if you're feeling stressed to the extent that you are not moving forward, then it's not serving you. And if it's not serving you, then why give it power or why continue doing it? Right? Make sense? Right? And so that's really like the way you look at it on developing like PMA. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, right? It's in short. Now this will be okay. We got like 5 minutes left. Okay, life move in angles. Make sense? Life move in angles. And let me draw the equation for this, right? Just so that we can be very clear on this. Everybody have goals, right? Right. And I'm not talking about monetary goals. I'm talking about like goals that you guys want to achieve with money. So for example, it could be like, okay, you want peace of mind, you want a house, you want a car, you want to have another kid, whatever it is, right? That you want to travel, whatever. Now you have all these goals, and then goals comes, and in order to achieve all these goals, we need what? We need cha-ching. We need money, right? We all know that we need money. And then the question then becomes, if we need money, then what do we need to do? Remember what I talked about? We need to solve problems. Make sense? We need to solve problems. Solve problems. Now, once we solve problems, it will go to this, it will create this thing called what? Start with V. It's called value. Make sense? Because you need to solve other people's problem. Then you can get to where you want to be, right? So like you get value. And then with that's where like you solve other, then in order to provide value, obviously, not only do you solve your own problem, you solve other people want to get value, right? That's what value like really means, right? Just being useful. And so if you think about it, right, when I say life moving angles, it's like this is the goal that we all want, right? This shiny mountain, whatever, or the house, or the car, or the peace of mind, whatever they want. This is the shiny object that we want, right? The thing that we already want to have, right? We actually don't, just for fun fact, we actually don't want money. We actually don't really want to chase after money. We actually want the things that money can help us achieve. Make sense? Right? Which is the goals. And too many people focus on this when they should be focusing on this. Right? Because meaning say they focus too much on trying to accumulate money and never really achieve their goals, right? And so the point here is this: life moves in angles, because if these are the goals that you want, you realize that, hey, you cannot keep thinking of the car and manifesting the car like itself, right? You need to like think about, okay, how much money it costs. Okay, let's say $500,000, right? And then you're like, okay, cool. In order for me to earn $500,000, what do I need to do? I need to solve other people's problems. Okay, great. What problems can I solve? Right? And then this goes back to quantity, right? Times PMA. Go back to the same thing, right? Because the more problems you solve, the better you are at it. And with a good attitude, the more value you create, and the faster you earn more money and get your goals. Make sense? So that's what I mean by life moving angles, right? Your mind will always try to go a straight line. They always think of like, you know what, I need money. Then you start thinking, okay, where's my money? It's not going to help you. You got to think of like, okay, what's the problems? How much more you can solve? How well you can solve it, and everything else. Make sense? Right? And so life moving angles. Always remember this: life moving angles. Okay, but your brain will always be wired to go the same thing. Okay, that's number 4. Now, last one before I bounce off, which is very simple. And it's just like a constant reminder for myself. A constant reminder for myself, which is always going back to this thing that I always tell myself, right? It's like just cause and effect, right? The current things that we are facing right now are the effects, right? If you're not earning a lot of money, that's the effect, the reality, right? If you're earning a lot of money, that's also effect, the reality. Everybody understands that. What people don't understand or forget at the very least is that the cause is me. The effect is also me, right? And so if you're not earning a lot of money, you are the reason why you're not earning a lot of money. If you're earning a lot of money, like you're fucking filthy rich, you're also the reason why you're filthy rich. Makes sense? Right? You are the reason. Like, it's all you. And so, like, and that's why a lot of people say, you go on IG and they say, like, okay, 100% responsibility. Makes sense? 100% ownership. That's what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that, like, you have all the power in the world to change your thoughts, do the QQ at PMA formula, right? The success formula. Do more, do better, have positive attitude. And obviously, you get the results. And I remind myself this because sometimes sometimes we use our eyes, our ears, and our senses, right, to look at the things that's happening right now, and then we feel like it's not fair. We feel like it's not within our control. We feel that it's not our fault. But the truth is, The way to change the effect is not by blaming other people. The way to change the effect is by accepting that we are the cause and that we got all the opportunity to change it. Make sense? And so therefore, what I'm trying to say is that there is power in understanding this, right? People try to change the effect when all they should do is to change the cause. That makes sense? Instead of changing the effect, change the cause. Because with the cause, when you can change the cause, this means you have power. Every time you blame someone, you blame your manager, you blame whoever it is, it takes power away from you. And it's not going to help you move forward. And so there's power when you focus on yourself. Cool. Right? And so if I were to really just do basically a short recap on this in short, right? It's number one, success formula, right? PMA is one of the most important things that most people talk about. And to help utilize or develop a better positive mental attitude is always understanding 5 things. Number one, all problems are good. Number two, obsessed with helping. Number three, focus on the process, detached from the outcome. Number four, you are the cause and also the effect. You are the cause and also the effect, right? And then of course, like last one, or I swap it around, which is basically life moving angles, right? So 5 things. Okay,